The starter comes from Chicago and chef Jean Joho. He presents shirred eggs with an unusual presentation, scrambled and served with caviar in the shell. Then from the 1848 house in Georgia, Tom McEchern really explores the world of rabbit. It's done in 3 ways, using different methods for the front and back legs and loin. Dessert is done by Keegan Gerhard at the Ritz-Carlton, Naples. It's the fried fritters often associated with New Orleans. Chocolate Beignets served with Cappuccino Milkshake. The elegant Everest sits high atop the Midwest Stock Exchange in Chicago. Owner chef Jean Joho, a Beard Society Best Chef Midwest winner, also owns Brasserie Joe in the city, where more casual dining is offered. His appetizer is shirred eggs, but as you'll see, served in an unconventional style.
Number 1, we're making some small little brioche toast. What we're doing, we're taking some homemade brioche here. Slice it finely. In France, we call this also mouillette. What we do, we just toast this very lightly. You can toast this whole or you can slice it any way what you want. And you toast this for a little bit.
The brioche is browned in a salamander.
You look for a nice and golden brown. Step number 2, we make a cream with some Marc de Gewürz. Marc de Gewürz is a brandy from Alsace. It's made from grapes. It's exactly almost the same as you have grappa, but it's made in Alsace. When you're mixing this with your cream, nice and smooth.
This is whipped cream. Now the eggs.
Okay, you're cracking your eggs. That's a special tool I have here. Just crack it a little bit, and then it's got a top, and you save the top. It's very important as you're drying the top. You're cutting your egg, and take 2 eggs.
With traditional shirred eggs, they are baked in cream. Here, they'll be scrambled. Season the eggs with salt and pepper.
You add just a touch of butter for the smoothness, and you mix your eggs very, very well.
The eggs will be scrambled in a small saucepan.
And the most important are beginning from cold to warm. And you stir this on very low temperature, very consistency for a smooth consistency. No overheat the eggs until we go dry on the rubbery. When you do it, just put on a low heat.
As the eggs begin to cook, the chef moves them on and off the flat top to control the temperature.
I use a whip, it's much easier to do it. You can use a wooden spatula, but with a whip in general it's a bit more easy to do for the smoothness. Stir consistently, go careful in the sides and the board as you not make it too dry. And remember, when you almost cook, they will cook a bit longer when you take it out for the pan. While you're filling up your eggs, it's very important, go careful, nice and smooth, you can see it. Take a stainless spoon, no use silver, for your eggs. Next step, you're adding the cream. You go around in a circle. It's very important that you keep space in the middle. Right in the middle, this is where you will put your caviar. Same for the caviar. Buy the best what you can. Here I use beluga. Just use the best what you can find. No use some raw, some fish eggs. Use beluga when you can really afford beluga, maggot with etc. But really what makes this dish is the caviar, there's nothing else. The caviar on the eggs, the freshness for the eggs, the farmer's eggs. Use a little garnish. Serve this. Here I serve this with a gold spoon. Voila.
In 1992, a man sold his chain of drugstores and bought an antebellum house in Marietta, Georgia, outside of Atlanta. The property, now called the 1848 house, was carefully restored, including a mini-ball hole in the wall. The chef at taping time was Tom McEchern and cooks rabbit 3 ways. The chef removes the hind legs, which will later be stuffed.
After you remove it from the back, there's a little bridge bone that needs to be removed, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. Separate it from the knuckle. And we're going to reserve the bones for the rabbit stock. Okay, 2 hind legs. Here we have the 4 legs. This we're going to use for the confit. This needs to marinate for 24 hours, so we want to go ahead and get that going first. The 2 loins and the flank are on the top of the rabbit. 2 loins run this way and the flank is out to the side. We're going to cut the flank off. We're going to use the flank for our sauce. Okay. The tenderloins run along the bottom. As you can see, they're very, very small. We're just going to use that for more trimmings for our sauce. The loins run along the back. It's easier to go ahead and remove the silver skin now while it's on the rabbit rather than try to remove it after. Okay, once the silver skin is removed, we're going to cut along the backbone. We're going to cut on each side. Run the knife, the point of the knife, starting at the front of the rabbit. Run it along the rib bone. Then we're going to use our fingers, spread it out a little bit, and just trim it off the rabbit.
Eventually, the loin will be lightly smoked and sautéed. The marinade for the front legs consists of chopped ginger, chopped garlic, and some fresh herbs. The ginger is already in the bowl.
Some salt, black pepper, some fresh thyme, and rosemary. Mix that up real well. And of course, this is going to marinate for 24 hours.
The thigh bone of the back leg was removed and the meat is pounded prior to stuffing.
We're going to take our figs, cherries, golden raisins, and blueberries that are dried and that have soaked in Grand Marnier. And we're going to spread it out along this way, covering the whole length of the thigh. And then we're just going to roll it up. Okay, punching the end in. And we're going to take a piece of butcher's twine, tying the end first so that you can hold the fruit in so it won't come out when you're sauteing. Cut off the excess string. Now we're ready to saute. The loins, what we're going to do to the loins is we're going to marinate the loins in bourbon and teriyaki. 1/4 cup bourbon, 1/4 cup teriyaki. We're going to marinate that with some fresh rosemary. While that's marinating, we're going to get our smoker ready.
The chef uses a stovetop smoker.
Okay, smoker should be ready. Take the loins.
The loins are only smoked for 30 seconds.
We have to remember too that we're going to saute the loins, so we want to make sure that not too much heat is applied. Okay, then we're going to take our loins, brush them with mustard, and set them aside.
Now the chef sets up the confit for the front legs using rendered duck fat.
It's important to have the duck fat heated. Just enough fat to cover. We're going to bring it to a boil or a simmer. As soon as it comes to a simmer, we're going to put it in a 200-degree oven and cook it for about an hour and a half, or just till it's tender.
The stuffed back legs are dredged in flour and sautéed in olive oil.
Okay, we're sauteing these in olive oil. Getting them nice and brown on the bottom side.
After browning, the hind legs are finished in the oven. Finally, the loin is sautéed in hot olive oil.
Once again, the loin is small, so we're going to saute it very fast.
Here's a chef's tip. If the food catches fire, blow it out.
You want to make sure that you don't overcook the rabbit, because rabbit is very, very nice when it's medium rare. After that, it starts to get tough.
The rabbit will be presented with wilted mustard greens and a basmati rice, crawfish, and diced pepper mixture.
Now we're going to slice our loin for plate presentation.
The fruit-stuffed hind leg is also sliced.
Okay, we're going to fan out our loin. We're going to stand this up. We're going to fan this out this way. Then we're going to put our confit foreleg in the center.
The sauce is rabbit stock, which was enriched with reduced veal stock.
Now we want to sauce the dish. That's it.
Keegan Gerhard was born in San Bernardino, California, lived in Germany, then attended the University of Mississippi. Now assistant pastry chef at the Ritz-Carlton, Naples in Florida, he has been featured in Chef Magazine and Chocolatier. His dish is chocolate beignets with Capuccino Milkshake. The beignets include chocolate ganache, hot cream, chopped chocolate, and butter, which is finished here with a stick blender.
The finishing touch to this ganache before we pipe it into our molds is to add a little bit of candied hazelnut. And this is really just a taste, just a little bit of candied hazelnuts, ground up. Fold that in. Just till you see it nicely evenly distributed. That's going to give a little texture to this dessert. Otherwise, when you're eating the beignet, although it's delicious, you just have a big gooey mass in your mouth. So this adds a little bit of dimension and texture and a little roastiness to it.
The ganache goes into FlexiPan molds, then is frozen. Flour and cocoa, both sifted, begin the batter.
This is the same idea of a dry cake batter, or something that you might do to order. I'm going to put all your dry ingredients together, kind of mix them around. Add our sugar. Kind of get it evenly so that when we begin to add our liquids, it'll mix nicely. And you could do this on a machine. It doesn't respond particularly well to being over mixed. So you could do it in a home machine with a paddle. I prefer by hand.
Baking powder.
Salt. Balance the sweetness and a little bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon really complements Mangiare chocolate quite nicely, and I also believe helps to bring out a little bit of the highlights of the hazelnut inside the ganache. So just a nicely mixed dry ingredients. Just by the nature of whisking, you have a natural well on the inside, and you can slowly begin to add your egg. It's going to be quite tight in the beginning. Begin to add the chocolate. The milk, I'm sorry. So we want this to be quite thick. Another advantage of having the batter thick is that when you're done, if you drop it into the fryer just so, as we'll show you later, you can have a nice tail, which is a really nice effect on the plate. Your fritter batter is finished.
The beignets will be served with what the chef calls a Capuccino Milkshake, coffee ice cream blended with milk.
For the milkshake, I usually go about a third of the way up the ice cream. It's no real perfect recipe I found. But we're looking for something very thick. We're looking for something that they can really use a spoon to eat.
The beignet preparation starts by unmolding the frozen ganache.
We're going to give them 3 beignets for an order. What we'll do is that when you take a chocolate product out of a refrigerator or a freezer, it really tends to build up a little bit of condensation initially. So lightly dip it in flour. Try and tap off the excess flour. What's that? We'll take the chocolate ganache, chocolate and hazelnut ganache that we made previously. And as you can see, the batter is quite thick, as we spoke about before. And it's important so that it stays on the ganache in the fryer, gives a little bit of insulation so that it doesn't completely melt in the fryer. And then when we fry it off, it'll also add a little element of texture. You want to gently dip the batter down into the oil and actually let it begin to fry on the spoon before you drop it off. We'll do this 2 more times. You want to let it fry for about 3 or 4 minutes. As you can see, our first beignet is finished. Each one is going to be different. And I think it's part of the uniqueness of the dessert. Transfer the warm beignets. Just kind of do it in a little, you can see the ganache is nice and warm. It's oozing out everywhere. It's going to be a luscious dessert, but we want to serve it in a new container so that it's nice and clean for the guests. Give them a little extra chocolate sauce on top, as if they needed more chocolate. You can pour straight from the blender. See, it's nice and thick so they can eat it with a spoon.
The milkshake is topped with whipped cream and cinnamon.
And then to top it all off, to make sure that the guest is completely satisfied, we'll give them a little frozen Baileys on the side. And the waiters take it out to the room. They can present the beignet and present the milkshake and give them a little floater of Baileys on the top. And there you have it, chocolate beignets with the Capuccino Milkshake.